We're thinking and talking a lot more as a society about invisible work and about the invisible work done by women, of keeping homes while having careers, raising children, just doing a lot of quiet but critical work. And I'm not sure that there's a better way to describe agriculture as a general matter than quiet but critical work.
Happy 2026. Season 2 Farmcast. We're here. Well, let's place ourselves for those of you who are new here. I'm Katie Baldwin.
And I am Amanda Marrow.
We are co-founders of Amber Waves Farm. We're on the east end of Long Island in Amagansett, 35-acre farm, growing every day though. We'll get to that. New acreage, new farmers. We've got a lot of exciting things happening this year. But we are a mixed fruit, vegetable, grain, herbs, and flower community nonprofit organization. So we're a production farm, but we're also a teaching farm. And the thing we're really excited to celebrate this year, it is the International Year of the Woman Farmer. So this is through the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, and we are participating in it. Some might say we're the leading voices in it. We're saying it, and we're proud of it. So we're going to talk about what are women in farming? What does it have to do with Amber Waves? What does it have to do with what's on your plate every day, and what's going on the East End and what's going on regionally? But let's start at Amber Waves, because here we are, and what a year to celebrate women and farming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Amanda, you said something to me about there's a lot of invisible work that happens in food production, and a lot of it's done by women.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not invisible at Amber Waves. So looking ahead to this season, what's visible and what are you excited about?
Well, when I said that to you earlier, at the risk of making, broad brushstroke blanket statements, I think we're thinking and talking a lot more as a society about invisible work and about the invisible work done by women, of keeping homes while having careers, raising children, just doing a lot of quiet but critical work. And I'm not sure that there's a better way to describe agriculture as a general matter than quiet but critical work. Because
So what do you mean by that? What's the quiet part and what's the critical part?
Well, I think as a consumer of food, which every single person on the earth is, if you're not growing food yourself, it's really easy to just imagine that the food arrives wherever it is that you get it. I think if you're a member of a CSA or you're shopping at a farmer's market or you have the opportunity to know a farmer, you know a little bit more about that story of where your food came from. You see maybe there's soil on your food. You bought food you bought in-season produce from a farmer themselves. I mean, this is one of the things that made you was probably your first
fall in awareness.
I was going to say fall in love, but falling in love with
I didn't even know.
was,
I couldn't even fall in love yet. I just was waking into it.
Yes.
Food comes from
a person,
a farm.
Right? From a person who grew it. I mean, your origin story in agriculture is being a first grader and having a cotton farmer come into your classroom and hold up a cotton ball and say, "I grew your uniform," which was your aha moment. And so by invisible, I mean, we're touched by agriculture, not only in our food, but also in textiles, our clothing. We're surrounded by agriculture all the time, even though we feel removed from it. So there's this invisibility because of the vastly complicated and sophisticated systems of distribution that we have, so that you don't have to think about where your sweater comes from or where your salad came from. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And so in that way, we're all participants in agriculture, even if we're unaware of it. So
what's the benefit of being aware of it? And this is work that we've been doing for nearly 20 years at Amber Waves, of know your farmer.
Yeah.
Know a farmer, try to know a farmer, become more connected. What are the benefits of being more connected to your farmer and your food?
Well, I think that you and I would say first and foremost, because this is supposed to be fun, joy.
That's right.
I think joy. It's so fun to know. There's a book out there called The Secret Lives of Everyday Things, which I love, which tells the backstory of, The purpose of the book, spoiler alert, the purpose of the book is in the title of the book. You can judge this book by its cover. It's called The Secret Lives of Everyday Things, and it is about the secret lives of everyday things.
Is there a food thing in there, like an eggplant?
It's a moment since I have picked up, I think that it's a little kitschy, so it's like it's a short book. It's not, an encyclopedia, but I think...
What's an encyclopedia? Just kidding.
The internet.
That's
I know, it's a weird question to answer. It's the
It's
internet
fine.
before there was the internet, when it
Different
wasn't
era.
just in books, is the answer.
Thank you for that, for all of our young listeners.
Boy, I have forgotten the initial question about
Visibility.
Oh, why is it
fun?
why-
It's joyful
Well,
to
it's
know.
it's joyful to have a story and context for everything around you. I think the same way that, if you're into music, it's great to hear the origin story of a band that you're following, of where they're from and how they came up, or an artist or an actor or any sort of entertainment that you consume, or anything that's in your life that you consume, any brand that you're loyal to. Knowing the background, I think, enhances and deepens your experience with whatever that thing is. So for fun, for starters, but also, of course, information and knowledge will set you free. So in knowing more about what goes into producing food and the story of your food empowers you then to make choices about how you'd like to vote with your dollars, what you would like to put in your body, how you would like to feed your family. Sometimes that knowledge or information can be really overwhelming in the area of food. I mean, you and I have been working in food and agriculture for the last 20 years, and it can be difficult to unpack a label. Like a label, like physically on food in the grocery store, to even understand what the words mean. Naturally grown, organic, all natural, cage-free, free range, like whatever these words are describing food. I think one of the reasons that it's so fun to buy directly from a farmer, whether through CSA or at a farmer's market or cooperative or some other format, is that you can just ask those questions to an actual real human person,
Right.
to say, what does this mean? And what...
and you have a relationship.
Right, and you can just ask.
Right. And what would happen, for example, we have a community-supported agriculture program, so that we have a dedicated group of folks who come to the farm and are part of our farm operations or farm family. They're literally invested, emotionally invested. But what happens if you don't have that? If you're not part of a CSA, where else can you find that? You can find it at a farmer's market, and you can develop a relationship with somebody that you're buying food from there. You can, where else? Should we start a farmer chat bot? Farm bot?
Boy, I'm not sure that's the direction that you and I are generally
I'm going to
trying
put
to
that
push
one in
things
the
in.
treasure chest over there for later, for the future.
For a different time.
But that's, I think, how would one capture that relationship and knowledge, so that they can have more joy in everyday meals, is something that we're working towards every day, right?
Are you cueing me to pitch this exact Farmcast right now, to say that if you're not near a farm or a farmer's market or a CSA, just listen to us?
Just served it right up, ready to go. There it is.
Well, but truly, there are some really good follows on social media. There are farmers that we love to follow across the country that I'm learning what's happening.
Yeah. Who are some of your favorites?
Well, we love to follow Erin at Fleurette.
Yes.
That's such a fun farm to follow.
Head Over Fields.
Head Over Fields is a great one.
For the theme today, hence we're listing all of our fellow female farmers.
Yeah. Bare Roots. Our own alumni, Feathertop. Yeah, there are stories unfolding all over the place it's so much easier to access them now.
Right.
So
let's talk about staying with women in farming for a minute. We're a women-founded, women-led organization and production farm, educational organization and production farm. Let's stay with the farm production for a minute and women in farm production. Can you talk a little bit about our apprenticeship program? So we train new farmers. Let's talk about why most of our applicants are women. most of our alumni who have started their own farms are women, and kind of this making waves ripple effect of what we have seen happen in the last 20 years.
You know, it's interesting to see. Well, you know, when you and I started Amber Waves, we wanted to start something that was bigger than ourselves, that had its own identity, and that is certainly true. We refer to Amber in the third person as this kind of other woman being, this feminine, I won't say woman, but like a feminine being that kind of is the farm's identity. And so it very much, very much, you know, it's its own energy force and energy field. And we largely are training in our apprenticeship program women, but I think that they're self-selecting in. So it can be a complicated thing to talk about, because one of our core, you know, tenets or our part of our ethos, besides this is supposed to be fun, is everybody in. And so certainly Amber Waves is open to everybody. Overwhelmingly, the candidates and applicants for our programs and open job positions are women. I think because women are excited to work with other women, and so it's kind of a self-fulfilling, continuing trend and trajectory, that women are excited to come here for that reason. So within our apprenticeship program, you know, you and I we do a lot of things at Amber Waves, but I think for me, training this next generation of farmers is the thing that's the most deeply satisfying and gratifying, because we're training people who are then going on to start their own organizations or move up in our pipeline and stay here for a decade in our management pipeline. And they're starting their careers. They are building economies in their hometowns or in a new place where they can acquire farmland, you know, creating jobs, stewarding land, doing much more than you and I could ever do with just, you know, the four hands that we have between us. I think that's what's been so exciting about building something that's bigger than ourselves, is that the ripples are, it's fun to watch them now that we're this deep into it. So this is the 15th year of our training program, and really it was created to meet this need of farmers are retiring rapidly. You know, the average age of the American farmer is 58 or higher. They're retiring at a rate that's quicker than we're replacing them, which is a real threat to our food supply. I think, you know, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, you know, we need food. Everybody eats every day. So I think the loss of land stewardship and this loss of a body of knowledge is really a threat to food security and national security. And it's something that you and I are taking on head on with our own apprenticeship program, and then with our networking with other farms and regional food organizations to help take that on. So the program is, you know, our apprenticeship program is a 9-month intensive training program where it's literal boots on the ground, hands-on muscle memory, you know, tactical and practical skills of how to be a farmer, and then deeper dives in plant propagation and soil science and pest and disease management and weed control and marketing and financials and whole farm planning and, you know, everything basically that we kind of wish that we came out of our apprenticeship with, because we started out of our apprenticeship very green, kind of without a guidebook. And so our apprentices graduate, you know, with an actual guidebook.
Right.
That outlines, well, our crop plan and succession plantings, et cetera. The intention of our program is to set people up so that they can be as well equipped as possible to be really active and productive participants in small and mid-scale regenerative agriculture wherever they choose to land, whether it's in this country or abroad or anywhere, because people need to eat overseas as well. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, and we can talk about this throughout the year about how women are working in agriculture around the world. We are importing a majority of our fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. We are importing now. So I think this tension of women in other farms outside of the United States that are producing food, facing a variety of challenges: land ownership, little to no wages, access to capital. There are a bevy of challenges that women in this country face, and barriers that we're trying to knock down and plow through, but internationally too. We can touch on that. because we are becoming more and more reliant on importing those fresh fruits and vegetables. Even in the last decade, that's shifted dramatically. And, we make the case often that shoring up our food system is a national security issue. So there's one. In terms of regional food security, everyone's like, well, regional food security, what the heck does that mean? That means making sure that there is a network of food producers close-ish to you so that food doesn't have to travel very far, both for nutrition, climate efficiency, et cetera.
Well, how do you think that that COVID changed people's awareness of regional food systems? Like how was that for us here?
An example, well, we're uniquely situated at the end of an island. So in thinking about food distribution and how you get foods from 90 miles from Manhattan out to East Hampton is, it requires fossil fuels. It's definitely coming on a truck. And it's often coming from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Vermont. It's coming from around us if it's local. But I think what happened was there was a time at the end of this island where there was a week when the grocery store shelves were empty. It had a
Do you mean the first week that they were empty? You mean
I do mean that.
Okay.
That was when everyone was like, uh-oh, I can't get food today from the store.
Where all of a sudden the invisibility of this food just arrived became hyper visible in the lack of it.
So now what? So then some people who are tuned into, well, where else can I get food besides the grocery store, learned about a hyper local food system. So who are the farms and farmers around me and what are they growing and how can I access that? So we saw an uptick in our community supported agriculture program. To this day, I will never forget that we had a wait list and one of our senior managers told Scarlett Johansson, I'm sorry, we're full. Anyways, moving right along. That shows you how popular our farm was at the time. Because people needed access to food and it didn't have to travel more than 500 yards from the field to their CSA box. And they weren't traveling more than 5 minutes to come get the food. But there was, I think you're right to point out that period of time of scarcity, visibility on scarcity. And,
especially because what we're talking about is highly perishable. You can't stockpile fresh vegetables the way that you could stockpile other things. Grains, rice, beans. I mean, canned food staples, right? But our business isn't fresh. Everything has a pretty short shelf life.
So there was, and I think we are still a bit riding that wake-up call, that COVID wave. I think what's happening right now, though, another real shift in society and culture, of course, we don't have to get deep into the AI conversation, but there's a new generation waking up to what am I going to do with my life?
I was so interested. You said this to me the other day, and I actually hadn't. Well, we were talking about how many applicants we have this year for our positions. It's really exciting to have this many people want to be in agriculture. And we were unpacking, well, why is that? Why is this such a high applicant year? And you can go ahead and say what you said.
Just based on more than speculation is that I think there's an anticipation that maybe career paths that were sought after aren't going to be as available in the near future because a technology is going to replace the person in that position. In agriculture, we will have technological advancements. I do believe AI will help us be more efficient as a farm. We are producing food at scale, but very much with people. And people in agricultural systems is vitally important. So if you are a young person who's between the age of 20 and 30, and you're thinking, gosh, I thought I was going to study communications and marketing and I was going to be able to get that job. In 3 years, that might not be a thing.
A job anymore, right.
But there are many jobs for young people in agriculture. what am I tied? It's a young woman's game. They have basically aged out. Like, we are trying to get new young women involved in this.
You haven't aged out.
Okay, I mean, I can sit here and talk about it, but I'm not harvesting the arugula today. So there is opportunity if you are a young woman in agriculture to enter now. And I think you can think about it in the context of lifestyle, of friendship, joy of food, entrepreneurship, building your own business. You don't have to exit being a farmer, although that would be one of our goals, that we could train farmers. But if you wanted to start your own restaurant, you have a whole new appreciation and joy of where your food comes from. If you're going to go advise the White House on food policy, great. You know what soil biodiversity is like and why it matters. So working on a farm, especially if you're a woman, now is a great time to invest in your own knowledge, so that you're resourced for the future, so that you can use those skills for whatever you choose to do, farming or otherwise. I think farmings are going to be the new center of gravity. We've seen this for community connection in a world where, screens are prevalent, but like,
where people are really seeking
you said it the other day.
Authentic experiences.
Yeah, you can come talk to another person. You can talk to a farmer. You can talk to a fellow eater. I don't know, just have a bite and have a conversation. So there's some value in that too. In the model that we've created a model that is like a town square. People gather here. They mingle. They talk. They take a walk. They're in nature. They eat food. They carry on with their day. So there's more of that to come. But some things that I'm excited to talk about in the future are, what have our women farmer alumni accomplished? And it's a lot. Like, spotlighting these amazing farms that women farmers from our organization have started is something I'm excited to talk with you about. And then also people that have not come through our program, but that are colleagues around us on the east end of Long Island. Beekeepers, grain growers, other fruit and vegetable farmers. There is something, we've always said this, that we have a really strong food shed. And what we mean by food shed is there's a variety of food crops and foodstuffs produced very near you.
For such a narrow island, 90 miles out to sea, we're very fortunate in that way. I mean, and as we know, we have some of the best soils in the country.
Some of the best soils in the country. It's where land meets sea, so we have aquaculture. I mean, we haven't even touched on the kelp farmers. So there's a variety of stories to get into to highlight the different types of agriculture, all run by women in the East End. So that's a super fun thing to talk about. And then I think as we move through the year, broadening who we're highlighting, our friends across the country, what they're doing, what it's like in their neck of the woods, what challenges they're facing is an opportunity for us to spotlight them as well. I'm really excited about that.
Me too.
Okay, so we're going to end each episode with a fun new thing we're going to do called MVP. I think most people are familiar with that in the context of sports.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's a healthcare company.
Okay, well, maybe not many of us have thought about it in the context of produce. But we're farmers and we're veg enthusiasts. So we are going to do a spotlight on our most valuable produce of the week. Something that you think is awesome and something that I think is awesome. We can do, I think let's do two today. My MVP is, can you do that one that you just picked and ate? And I'm going to do this one. My MVP for this week is arugula. So here we are sitting in one of our greenhouses and we seed into the soil, and we grow these greens over the winter, throughout the winter. No heat's required. They kind of just sit. It's like a big outdoor refrigerator, which is super cool. So quick spotlight on our friend arugula, which now I've been thinking a lot about it in the context of what you said. You're gonna like have this amazing roast chicken tonight, and it's like hearty and good, and there's garlic and there's herbs and there's purple sweet potatoes, and it feels like a great January meal. And then if you introduce your sassy brassica sister here, who's like punching with some spiciness because all the flavor is concentrated, and you have a little lemon vinaigrette topper, you have your salt, fat, acid, heat in a meal. That's right, Samine. You heard it here. Rules to live by.
Samine, stop hunting us about being on our Farmcast. We're going to get to you.
Samine, understand the power of winter arugula. I'm sure you do, sis.
She does. She definitely does.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't have to tell her about it.
Let's do what we do with kids when we bring them into the farm field. We do a tasting tour. So we get low. We use all of our senses. We touch. Feels kind of soft. Feels like it kind of needs some water, actually. Smell.
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
Quite peppery. Going in for a taste.
It's some of the most mild arugula that you can have, that you can imagine.
And when you're saying mild, you mean both the softness of the leaf. It's mild. It's not tough to get through. It's not roughage. This is gentle, soft baby green because it's protected from the elements. It's not creating hard cellular structure to battle the wind. It is baby soft arugula.
Yes.
And then on the flavor front, what's it doing in your mouth right now?
It's just, well, it's tender because it hasn't, but I want to pause for a moment on that developing cellular structure. The plants that you grow indoors behave so differently than plants that are outdoors. And so, you and I love to do a mouth salad, and we did a whole Farmcast episode on greens last year of sitting in the field and tasting what was around us. And this is the same exact variety, and it is behaving so much differently inside than indoors, in protected cover than outdoors, even though there's no heat in this greenhouse. Without the need to protect itself from the wind, it stays gentle. It stays soft. It's like, it's like the skin under your ring that is gentle and softer and doesn't have a tan than the rest of the skin on your hands. That's what indoor arugula is like. So not only is it very tender in your mouth, but also it's cool weather, and so heat heats up the spice in this plant family. Sometimes that comes out as spiciness, sometimes it comes out as bitterness. But this time of year, when it's very chilly, the arugula is almost sweet. And so where we'd have a really peppery, mustardy, high impact, kind of I'm wanting to show shoulders of just this fierce green that exists in the summer conditions. This is just the gentle indoor quiet version.
Yeah. It's really, it is a special time of year for this for us, because this also will happen throughout the spring before it gets too hot and too conditioned. But okay, so what are some fun facts that all of our listeners should know from their farmer about arugula? I'm thinking of things like, when do we seed it? How can you do it at home? What plant family is it in? We can talk about her sister over here in a second. So some of those cues at.
Well, it's in the Brassica family, or the cruciferous family, so the same plant family as kale, collard greens, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, broccolini, its cousin over here, mustard, cabbage. We love this plant family. It's one of the biggest ones on the farm, and by that I mean it takes up a tremendous amount of acreage. We do a huge acreage in baby greens.
Because they can be eaten fresh or cooked, depending on if they're young and tender as a salad green, or if they're more mature as a cooking green.
Right, exactly. So that really, most of the greens that we grow, of course, we're growing head lettuce and spinach, which are in different plant families. But we on the farm are thinking a lot about things in plant families. And so,
can you share, what is a plant family? What is that, and why do we care?
We care about plant families because they have the same nutrient requirements, and they attract the same pests. And so when we keep plant families together so that we can rotate crops effectively from one year to the next. So we're trying to get a 4-year rotation in of, if you've had a solanaceous crop or a nightshade, which is tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, potatoes, we're wanting to not have solanaceous crops in that ground for the next 4 years. We want to trick pests. We want to balance soil nutrients. Whatever the tomatoes have depleted from the soil, we want to introduce a different crop the next year into that place. We use our grains a lot to interrupt mixed vegetable production.
People may have heard this as crop rotation.
Crop rotations,
and
right.
if you're a home gardener, you know this, like rotating. So it's this idea of circulating plant families around your garden or a farm
Right.
for these reasons.
And particularly on on our farm, which is an organic practicing farm, we are not using synthetic pesticides, and so or herbicides. And so the idea of rotating helps us is our first step in getting ahead of pests. So for example, in the spring, there's not a single hole in this beautiful arugula, but it's really hard to outsmart and outrun the flea beetles, which is a tiny hopping beetle that's larger than a flea, although barely. And so and they love brassicas. That's primarily what they attack in the spring and early summer. And so by putting all the brassicas together, we can protect them all together. So typically that means using a floating row cover to physically have a physical barrier between the pest and or between the open environment and the crop itself. This is not flea beetle season. It's the middle of the winter. It's January. Right. And so flea beetles are not alive, and this arugula is having the time of its life in here, and no one's trying to attack it besides you and me eating it as we sit here.
If you were sitting at your friend's supper club, what's your fun fact about arugula you're bringing to the table?
Gosh.
Either personal anecdote or...
Well, I feel like I just
anecdote.
gave you a lot of fun facts. You're asking me for a new one, which is great. Thanks for the challenge. I think it's fun to note that, arugula is part of the core team of baby greens, which is our, one of our sexy six, our top crops here at the farm, which is cut flowers, fresh herbs, baby greens, zucchini, cucumbers, and tomatoes. Those are the things that really draw in, that are the biggest money makers, that are the favorites of the CSA. And we're thinking about succession plantings with each of these crops. So tomatoes, for example, we plant them 4 times in order to have a consistent supply from late July through November 1st is always our goal. Arugula has one of the widest spans of anything we grow on the farm. It'll be the very first thing that's ready outdoors in the spring. So we'll get our first outdoor arugula harvest in May, and we'll try to take that all the way into December. And in order to do that, because it has a much shorter days to ripeness or days to maturity, we will plant arugula in 2026 45 times.
Wow, 45 times, geez.
So depending on the season, every 10, 7, 5, 3 days, we're trying to, as the days get longer and as the days get shorter, we're always kind of manipulating day length and temperature. So we're gonna plant this 45 times, which is a lot because we plant tomatoes 4 times, and we plant garlic 1 time, and sweet potatoes 1 time, and winter squash 1 time, which are all storage crops. Arugula I can't think of a less storage crop.
It's already
wilting.
It's already wilting in my hand after being harvested 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's dainty.
It is. Okay, I will add just a note for those of you who are thinking about, maybe you've ordered some seeds, maybe you're thinking about your home garden, maybe you don't have a home garden, but you just have a windowsill or some sunny spot in your house, and you want to try growing something right now because you need a little life in your life.
Yeah. Life in your life.
Arugula is your
life
answer.
in your life.
So this is a simple crop. It's easy to acquire the seeds.
Mm-hmm.
We get most or a lot of our seeds from Johnny's. So as like a seed
from Johnny's Selected Seeds, you can order online. So we order from them as commercial growers, but home gardeners can also order from Johnny's.
For example, you can get a packet of seeds for less than $5.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to contain thousands of arugula seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you can have a container that is relatively shallow, probably doesn't have to be more than 2 inches deep.
I was going to say 2 or 3 inches, yeah.
So you can use a Pyrex that's in your kitchen or any sort of container. It helps if there's drainage, which is why you use a pot with holes at the bottom. But for these purposes, for how fast this is going to grow and sprout, just to try something at home, you would take a little bit of soil, where you would get that soil if you're a home gardener.
You could also order it from Johnny's, or you could get it at the hardware store, or...
Make sure the potting soil is organic. Fill a little container, 2 inches about, sprinkle on top, water once a day. Seeds will sprout in 4 to 5 days.
Or less.
Or less, depending on
in your ambient temperature
how
of your house.
warm and how sunny it is. And then you can stop there. You can trim it and sprinkle it on your salad. Your child can pick it and taste it. It is going to have the same, if not more pungent, potent arugula flavor in that. It's called a microgreen, but in that new baby sprout. So you can get after it and have a growing experience in 5 days or less.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you're doing microgreen, it takes,
this is 30 days.
Yes, because even maybe more because it's outside,
or
because it's not outside, but it's unheated. It's it's not in your kitchen, on your windowsill in your kitchen.
And if you're working into your gardening plan, just know that it's sprinkle, cut. It could come back again, and you can harvest it 2 or 3 times in a home garden. So it's friendly. It's user friendly in that way too.
So Katie, these days you're spending a lot of time out of the fields and shoring up the future of the organization so that we can have farmers in the fields. So you spend a lot of your time raising money and building our community to support this farm, and particularly towards the end of year for end of season giving, which people heard us talk a lot about. So tell me, how'd it go?
Well, we had our best year ever, which we have a saying internally, growing better every day, but year over year, season over season, we are still growing. And the year-end fundraising campaign was an indication of, I think, a strong future. So I am...
Why are we even fundraising? What are we raising money for?
To remind everyone, or if you don't know already, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're an educational farm. So we are a production farm. We grow food and we have a CSA program and a retail market. But the reason we exist is for educational purposes. So we are teaching children about where their food comes from, and we're training new farmers how to start their own farm, how to grow food. And to fund those programs, the educational programs, we raise money to do so. And in our community of donors, a humongous thank you to all of you who believe in what we do, who understand why it's important, and who step up year after year, even people outside of the community, but people who, especially who are here, who are engaged with the farm. We can't do it without your support, and we need you involved. Something I'm really excited about this season is to not just lean in so heavily at the end of the year, which most nonprofits, that's the big fundraising quarter, the big push. But just as we have seeded in our community, both for like sustainable cash flow year round, but also so that we can have a good head start to our programs. Relying on monthly recurring donations is important to us. So I know a lot of our donors have subscriptions in their life. Can you think of how many subscriptions you have in your life? I mean, you are programmed to give money monthly to any number of media outlets, and we are one that also needs that monthly support. So throughout the year, our call to action is going to be join us as a monthly subscriber. And we have subscribers to the farm that give us money in exchange for vegetables. But I think in terms of our Farmcast and our information sharing and in the educational spirit of, if you can't come to the farm to participate in a program, you can still participate as a monthly subscriber and join us in this conversation. And I think we're excited to expand our audience, and we're excited to use this Farmcast as a tool to bring more folks into the conversation about why do farms matter, how do we shore up our regional food systems. And specifically this year, we're celebrating women in farming.
Yes.
And so if you are a woman and you are looking for an organization to support, we are your organization, and we're going to tell you why.